Shoots and Scores Hockey Talk, where we talk everything hockey. I am John.
Mike.
All right, Mike, let's go. Now, the first thing I guess we should talk about tonight is there is only the two of us.
Well, yeah, we fired Chris.
We fired Chris. His
Yeah.
analytics are crap. Just joking. He should be back next week, I believe. So, but the show must continue, and we've got lots of stuff here to talk about. So our first order of business will be, of course, Alexander Ovechkin. I don't really know how we could go in today's show and not bring up Alex Ovechkin because he did break the all-time goal scoring record held by Gretzky, which I'm sure everybody listening to us does know. He did it on Sunday. Ovechkin scored his 42nd goal of the year on the power play, which, believe it or not, Mike, after missing, what did he miss, 18 games, I believe it was? Puts him third in scoring in the league with 42 goals. Crazy. That gives him 895 for his career, a record that I thought, probably you thought, a lot of people thought would never, ever be broken. Now, I'm glad that I watched the game, got to see Ovechkin break the record, got to see Gretzky and his speech and what he was saying about Ovechkin and everything, and some history-making times, and I was glad I got to see it. So, Mike, I got a couple of questions for you here. First of all, Ovechkin hasn't played since Sunday, and this is Thursday. He has 5 games left, Mike. How many more goals is he going to score? Is he going to finish the season with the year with 900 career goals? Is he going to get 5 more goals in 5 games? What do you think?
I don't think he's going to get to 900 this year because I have a feeling that they're probably going to rest him for, I'm going to guess, 2 of the games. I know that they've got, I think, 1 or 2 back-to-back. So he's definitely well, I shouldn't say definitely, but the teams that are in the playoffs tend to rest some guys on the back-to-back games on the second half. Florida's already done it. They've rested some players on the second half of back-to-backs. Tampa Bay, I expect them to start resting some guys. So I think he's probably going to get a couple of games off. So I'm going to say he gets 2 more goals. I'd like to see him get more, but if he plays all 5 games, he'll probably get 3, maybe 4. But if I'm a betting man, they're going to rest him for a couple games going into the playoffs.
I would bet, and I mean, you can tell me if I'm wrong here, but their final game is against Pittsburgh. And I have a feeling that he's going to want to play that game.
I would think so too, yeah.
So it wouldn't surprise me if he rested the game before. I bet he's going to want to play. And I think the game is in Pittsburgh, if I remember correctly. So I'm pretty sure he's going to want to play that game against, with Crosby out there. And
yeah.
I just think that's going to happen. Okay, well, that makes sense. Did you get to see the game, Mike? I was watching it. Did you get to see it Sunday afternoon?
Yeah, I did. So yeah, it was great to see the goal. I mean, the lead up to it, and I was that the only goal Washington scored?
Yeah, they lost 4-1, I believe.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it was against the Islanders.
Yeah,
I seen him go over and give Sorokin a little tap on the head there afterwards. So
I believe that Sorokin got a stick. I'm pretty
really?
sure
because
because I believe Sorokin collects sticks, and I believe Ovechkin gave him the stick, which I was really surprised at because I thought, geez, that's going to be in the Hall of Fame. But I could be wrong. If anybody out there knows if I'm incorrect about that, make sure you say something in the comments. I was just wondering what you thought overall of the entire thing. I mean, the Islanders seemed like a pretty class act there. I don't know how much they had to do with any of that. That was all the NHL's doing, but I enjoyed seeing Gretzky and hearing him talk and being, quite funny, and it was a good scene.
Totally agree. Yeah, it was great. I mean, the funny thing is he had never scored a goal on Sorokin before until that game. So.
That's right. Yes. Yeah. So, all right. Well, we'll go on to our second topic of tonight, and this is something I wanted to bring up a few weeks ago, but there were so many things to talk about. I said, well, Mike, I'm going to put this on the back burner, but there's no way I can't bring it up tonight, and that is the Montreal Canadiens. They picked one hell of a time to get red hot, and this is the time to do it. They've been playing really well for maybe 6 out of 8 weeks, 5 out of 7 weeks, somewhere's in that time frame now. Now, Montreal started out really slowly the other night against the Red Wings. It was on Tuesday, but they
Mhm.
finished with a bang. They scored 2 empty net goals. Now they are 8 points up on the Rangers, Detroit, the Islanders, and Columbus. 8 points up on all these teams when it was all so close, and then it just fell apart for everybody. Suzuki has 86 points, I believe, and he's got a shot at 90. Caulfield has 37 goals. Mike, does anyone have any chance at all of catching Montreal now? And actually, it's very few teams that have a chance now. I mean, it's pretty much a done deal, isn't it?
Yeah, I think there's four teams that technically can catch them.
Yep.
However, that's Detroit, the Rangers, the Islanders, and Columbus. They can all catch them to tie them, but in order for that to happen, Montreal has to lose all of their games, and those teams have to win all of their remaining games. So it's not going to happen. I mean, and if it did, Montreal fans would be in the streets burning their jerseys.
Well, I never thought that Montreal had a shot at making the playoffs. I will be the first to admit it.
Mm-hmm.
I believe we talked about it here 5 or 6 weeks ago. Maybe not that long. Maybe it was 4 weeks ago. They were hot at the time. Then they lost a few games. They were still way back. I'm like, look at that. They won a bunch of games and they still don't have a chance. But
Yeah.
man, that team, you know, I'm really shocked. What about you, Mike? Are you shocked?
Yeah, I think the big thing that has gotten them to where they are this year and the reason they're in the playoffs, and, I'll give credit where it's due, is Lane Hudson. I
Yeah.
think without him, they don't make the playoffs. Um, he's really been so creative on the offensive defensive side of the game for that team. I know Matheson was really good for them the last couple of years, but Hudson has a different style and is far more creative. And without him, I don't think they make the playoffs, to be honest with you. So going into the end of the season, I think that also puts him as the favorite to get the Calder Trophy this year.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I agree.
there's some other guys that have played well, but they're all on non-playoff teams. So, and Montreal wasn't expected to be there. And I mean, I'm not just giving all the credit to Lane Hudson. I mean, their goalie Montembeault has played pretty good considering. Suzuki, Caulfield, they've played great. So, um, it took more than just the one guy, but I think that without Hudson, they wouldn't be in the playoffs. So, and I'd be surprised if really anybody would disagree with that.
Yeah, I mean, I watched him play the other night. Last time Montreal played Tuesday night, I watched that game. And Hudson, he just seems to have an extra level of creativity to him.
Yeah, he sees the ice very well. He
He
sees
does.
plays develop before they're happening, and his trajectory is to be up there with the top guys. I mean, and the top guys are Makar, Quinn Hughes.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, they're the top two. I mean, for that style of play, and Hudson is very similar to that style of play. I'm not saying he's as good as those guys, at least not yet, but I think he's kind of patterned his game after those two because they're very, smart with the puck, creative, good skaters. So, you know, yeah, all the credit to him.
Okay, now I have another part to this. And it's not really a question, it's just some little bit of facts here. The last Montreal Canadian to score 40 goals was one of my favorite Montreal Canadiens, Vincent Damphousse in 1993-94. And the last Canadian to score 90 points was, of course, also Damphousse in the 95-96 season when he had 94 points. It's been a long time since they've had a 40 goal scorer and or a 90 pointer. So we'll see. We'll see if these guys, because they may rest their guys too. You
I
know,
suspect once they clinch the playoff spot, I wouldn't be surprised if they rested these guys at least for a game. I know they've only got like 3 or 4 games left, but yeah, it's just the way that the NHL, the teams do things nowadays. Once you're pretty much set in your spots, they'll rest some guys. No different than the other sports. All the sports do it now. You
Right.
look
Yeah.
at the
Yeah.
NBA and NFL and baseball. They all do this on the stretch run once they've got their spots finalized. So
Yeah. In the NBA, they rest guys through the season, and they call it load management.
yeah,
It's the new term, load management. A lot of fans are really upset about it, but that's what they're doing. So, all right. Well, let's go on to our third topic. Now, Mike, I believe, and I'm pretty sure you agree with me, the East is pretty much decided, but the West maybe still holds a surprise or two. The last spot in the West, is it the Wild's to lose? Now, I see now that the Wild actually pulled ahead of St. Louis. They both had the same points, but because of their records, Minnesota is there. Now, they are 4 points up on the Flames. But Calgary does have 2 extra games at hand. Minnesota is 4-4-2 in their last 10 games. Calgary is 6-2-2 in their last 10. Mike, is there any hope for Calgary? Can they do it?
I think they're out of gas now. I get the record of 6-2-2 in the last 10, but they really, blew that game last night against Anaheim. They were up 3-1 with 5 minutes left, and then they lost in overtime.
They needed that game.
Critical point. And I think they lost another game late just recently too. I think it was last week. So
yes, they did. Yeah.
So for them to lose games that late in the game, especially when they desperately need the points, I mean, I
To
think it's going to
Anaheim.
be yeah, it's going to be difficult for them to get that last spot. I mean, Minnesota just got Kaprizov and Eriksson Ek
Yep.
back, and both of them had great nights last night in the first game back. So I don't think Minnesota is going to drop out. St. Louis, even though they've lost the last 2 games, but then again, Connor McDavid surprisingly came back last night and got 3 points against them. So I don't see Minnesota or St. Louis missing the playoffs at this point. I think if they win one more win and one more Calgary loss, and that's it. So
Right. Right. Well, I know that if Calgary had lost outright last night, I believe the Oilers would have had the X by their name as well. So I think that's what they said. Edmonton needed to win and Calgary needed to lose in regular time. So, but it just looks bad for Calgary. I was hoping that they were going to make it. They were a big story for a long time. They kept on going. Neither one of us really thought that they had it in them. Then, I started to become a bit of a believer. I was hoping, I'd like to see as many Canadian teams in the playoffs as possible, and just don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah, well, I know that a month ago it looked like it was going to be Calgary or Vancouver in and St. Louis out, and
Right.
that
Yep.
totally has changed. So
And Vancouver has the X by their name now. I noticed after last night, so they're eliminated.
yeah,
So they're done. And what did they have last year, Mike? 110 points, was it?
I don't recall what they had for points last year, but they far exceeded expectations last year, and then they far underachieved this year. So
Right. Well, the dressing room drama, I'm sure, didn't help. All right.
yeah,
Well, let's go on. Let's go on to our fourth topic. Now, fourth topic, Mike, is the playoffs, and they're almost here. And thank goodness, I can't wait. Now, I thought maybe we could end this part of hockey, our shoot and score hockey talk show, by just giving out a little tidbit, a couple of tidbits of some players maybe to watch out for coming up here in the playoffs. Maybe some players that might slip through the crack, other people might not be thinking of, because there's been a lot of different changes in the league. Some players were traded and moved. What do you think, Mike? Do you have any sleeper picks maybe for anybody that's listening and has their itch on for some hockey pool magic from you?
well, I'll throw out a couple of, I'll say, lottery tickets.
Lottery tickets is a good term.
Well, if you think LA can beat the Oilers, keep an eye on Andrei Kuzmenko, who came over at the deadline from the Flyers. He's been on fire with LA. They're using him the way that Vancouver and Calgary did the first years that he was with those teams. I
Right.
don't understand, the deal with Kuzmenko. He seems to play really well for a season, and then I don't know. The next year, it's almost like he's invisible, and I don't know if it's because they're not using him well, or if he's lazy, or what the case may be. But he was great starting off with Vancouver. He had a couple of really good years there, or one in particular. Then he got moved to Calgary, and took him a little while to get going once he got to Calgary, but he played really well down the stretch for them last year. And then this year, crickets. And then he got traded to the Flyers, and then they traded him to the Kings. So he's been great with the Kings so far. He's fit in very well. So, there's one. The other one, I know we've talked a little bit about him lately, but Gabriel Landeskog just
Right. Yes.
he's gonna looks like he's gonna play a couple games with the American Hockey League team
I
this week.
saw that. Yeah.
So, he's another one that he could fly under the radar if you're in a playoff pool with some people that are just looking at this year's stats, basically, because he's not going to stand out. Same thing with Kuzmenko. He's not going to stand out either because his overall stats on the season are not great. So, but those are two guys that I would watch in the playoffs. You know, as far as, and they're in the Western Conference. So if we're looking over at the Eastern Conference, you look at Carolina, and I think Carolina's good enough to beat out New Jersey. Jackson Blake, actually, he's Jason Blake's son. If you remember Jason Blake from
I
back,
do. I
yeah.
do.
So he's played very well down the stretch here for Carolina. He's been on the top line, so he's basically been the guy that's sort of replaced Rantanen once Rantanen was traded. So he's fit in really well on that top line. He's been getting some points, so he'd be one to watch as a little bit of an under the radar guy. Um, Let me see, who else would I throw out there from the Eastern Conference? Well, maybe Brad Marchand.
Well, I was wondering if you
So
were going to mention Brad Marchand. He's kind of been under the radar. He was injured.
yeah,
Hasn't done much.
no, he hasn't, and I mean, since he's joined the team, Florida's had some injuries. Barkov was hurt.
Yep.
Um,
And they haven't
you
played
know,
well either.
yeah, so they haven't had. I think since he's been with the team and actually started playing, I don't think Florida's had their full starting lineup because Ekblad suspended.
Right.
Uh, Barkov had missed some time. Reinhart missed a game. Sam Bennett's hurt. Carter Verhaeghe's going to be rested tonight. So, and they rested a bunch of players the other night as well. Forsling and I can't remember the other guys. But anyways, Florida's a team that's been resting their players. So I'm curious to see how that works out for them going into the playoffs. I know that 2 years in a row they've had long seasons because they've been to the Cup final twice. So maybe this is just a way to get them ready to go for the playoffs. So we'll see what Marchand can do in the playoffs because there's some people that might think, he's washed up or that type of thing. But I think on that team he'll be good, especially if Tkachuk misses any time in the playoffs, which it sounds like he might, then he's going to slide into his spot, I think, and play on one of the top two lines. Whereas when Tkachuk's there, maybe they have him on the third line. So we'll
Right.
see.
Right. And Marchand would be on the first line power play, wouldn't he? I'm sure he would be.
Well, he's a clutch player. I would think so. Florida's depth is
Then
pretty
again,
good. So they've got
yeah.
some,
Right.
they can first line, second line for the power play for them are both pretty good. So we'll see.
Yeah, I was wondering if you might say Marchand because I was looking at him and I was like, man, he hasn't done much. He was injured. The team hasn't played well. Like you said, the team's had a lot of injuries.
Hmm.
And I'm sure he wants to prove Boston made a mistake.
Yeah. With that being said, I wouldn't be surprised if he's back in Boston next year. But that's all depends on if he wants to be part of a rebuild. Now that he's been traded and he's not a considered as a lifelong career Bruin where he's played for another team now, I'm not sure he will want to go back only because of rebuilding. But I think if
Yeah,
they were going to be a
exactly.
contending team, he would probably go back there. But we'll see in the off season.
All right, Mike. Well, that's all the questions that I have for now. Are you ready for the Hockey Prophet segment, where
Yeah.
you are indeed the Hockey Prophet? And I have a list of rapid fire questions here. I have my timer already. So, Mike, are you ready?
Fire away.
All right, number one, Mike. Which goalie is hotter right now, Mike? Monabo or Bennington?
Boys, it's close, but you got to go with Bennington. They won so many games in a row. Got to go with him, even though they lost their last two. Still got to go with Bennington.
All right, number two. Will Cole Caulfield get 3 more goals to make 40 for the year? He has 4 games left, Mike.
I'd like to see him do it, but I don't think he's going to. I think they're going to end up resting him.
I think you're right. Number three. Are the Buffalo Sabres the most disappointing team this year? Now, I'm going to tell you why I'm putting this out there. They will miss the playoffs for a record 14th consecutive season. I know there's other disappointments out there, but
Yeah.
does this take the cake?
Well, for me, I don't think so because I wasn't expecting them. I expected them to fight for a playoff spot, but I didn't expect them to make the playoffs. I think the most disappointing has got to be the Bruins. I mean, who's seen them last place in the conference?
I
So
didn't.
that's exactly my point. So, and I mean, it's not like they went into this season not trying to be a contender. They
That's
traded
right.
away Allmark. They brought in Elias Lindholm. They signed Swayman to that long-term contract.
Yes.
So it's not like this isn't the way the season went or has gone the way they were thinking that it would going into the season. So I think they're the biggest disappointment, but they got some stiff competition with the New York Rangers. So I don't
And
even. Buffalo
Nashville.
might be the third, maybe third, but Boston and the Rangers are definitely the top two. They were
Okay,
to
number
the beat.
four. Stamkos has 27 goals and only 51 points so far this year. Can he get back to 80 points next year, Mike?
I don't think so. No, I think he's on the decline now, and being away from a team like Tampa Bay with the offensive talent that they had that meshed so well, like with Kucherov and Point, uh, those guys there, not having I think the chemistry. I think that's part of it. Could be that he just hasn't gelled as well with the guys in Nashville. So yeah, I don't see it happening. I see him maybe as a 70-point guy next year, maybe. But the team has to be better than this. I mean, it's not like they're dressing all third line players here. They've got some top end talent. So what happened there? It's a mystery. Like I don't think anybody predicted this.
No, no. Okay, and finally, number five, Mike, and I'm sure you're going to be glad when this is over, but I bet you're going to love this question. It says in Gritty's profile, known for his unique, edgy, and chaotic personality, embodying the spirit of the city and its fans. If Ovechkin had scored that record goal in Philadelphia, would Gritty have tackled either Ovechkin or Gretzky?
I doubt that they would have let him do that. However, I'm sure it's something that he would have liked to have done.
I read that profile and I thought that I have to ask this question. It's too funny to not put out there. I can just see Gritty out there tackling Ovechkin or Gretzky at center ice.
Yeah,
But
that would
anyway,
be funny. It definitely would.
I don't think the NHL would be too happy about it. I think
No, and
Gritty would probably be out of a job.
The Flyers have a thing that they do before every game is they have a person that works for them, and like Gritty's on the ice before the game, and they have this guy come out dressed in the opposing team's jersey and helmet, and Gritty hits him with a knockout punch and sends him flying. They do it before every home game, so it's pretty funny to see the fans go crazy for it. So
That's awesome.
uh,
That's awesome.
so yeah, I think that would be as close as it got to him, taking down Ovechkin or Gretzky. So
All right. Well, Mike, was there anything else that you wanted to say about tonight's episode? Anything else you wanted to add?
yeah, just one other thing is, the KHL season has ended for a couple teams now, and Ivan Demidov is coming over and
Yeah. Do you
signed his
think that makes any
contract.
difference?
Well, I think it should. I mean, depends on what Montreal's overall game plan is, but they should get him into the lineup, as quickly as possible and uh, get him in there. He had a great year in the KHL, so I don't think it would be a huge transition. It's not like he's had a really long layoff of playing games, so I
Right.
think they should get him in there and have him go. And the other person on his team was Bagel's boy, Alexander Nikishin.
Yep.
He his season ended on because they both played on the same team, so um, he'll be coming over as well. So we'll with Carolina, it looks like he hasn't signed a contract yet. So once he does, we'll see what Carolina does. I mean, Carolina's got a lot of defensemen right now, so it's going to be interesting on what they decide to do with him if they can sign him and bring him over this year.
Do you think that Davidov's going to be on the second line in Montreal?
Uh, you know, I I think that's where he should be.
They
So
probably don't want to break up the third line. It's actually doing really well.
yeah, so I think having him out there with Line and who's the centerman on their second line there? It's not Newhook, is it? Newhook's not second.
Uh,
But
I
anyways,
it
I think
changes all the time
yeah,
anyway. So
I think he should be on the second line, but it all depends on what Montreal thinks they have for chemistry right now too. So like you said, the third line's been going pretty good there. So and he's not a guy to put on the fourth line, I
right.
wouldn't think. So it's gonna be interesting. I think we may find out Saturday night. Who knows?
Maybe someone in a playoff pool situation might want to keep an eye on him. I don't know though. He hasn't
I
played a
think
game in the NHL. I don't know. Playing against Washington might not be such a good idea, but
yeah. Well, we'll see what Montreal does with him the last couple of games of the season, and who knows.
okay. Well, before we go, I just want to say, you and I both want to say, goodbye to Greg Millen, who passed away unexpectedly, I guess, at 67.
Yeah.
Greg played 14 years in the NHL. He was a big part of the CBC and NHL and Sportsnet, and we're going to miss him. And who else did you say passed away, Mike? I forget who you
Ray
said.
Shero passed away
Ray
as well.
Shero.
Yeah, former GM of the Pittsburgh Penguins, son of Fred Shero, who was the Flyers head coach when they had won the Stanley Cup,
Right,
and
right.
I think he was most recently with Minnesota, just working underneath Bill Guerin. So yeah, so we lost two this week.
Right.
Hopefully, no more.
Hopefully, no more. And so we just want to say, thanks, guys, and we're sorry to see them go. If we said anything wrong, please let us know in the comments. That's where they should go. Like, share, and subscribe, and we will see you next week. Later.
Later.